attacking Hamas. But what also is Groundhog Day is that the world continues to condemn Israel, and the people who are watching, listening, are continuing to be duped by misinformation and a complete lack of fact. Welcome back to the Rant Network. I am David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell. We're going to dive into our unfiltered issues as usual. We always talk about news, pop culture, politics, and beyond. And for the last few weeks, it's been about humanity and for continuing to forget the humanity part in this war between Hamas that they started and Israel, who's trying to defend its own existence. Whether we're dissecting today's absurdities or delving into society's deepest seated issues, folks, we continue to keep it real and dare you to fact check us because we keep it very, very real. All right, buckle up, folks. Here we go as we've tuned into the Rant Network. You know, over the weekend, Stuart, once again, since actually not even the weekend, since last week, we've been hearing the media once again flipping. The media was looking for this opportunity to flip and to put Israel into the light that it likes to put her into, which is always the victim. No, sorry, not the victim, but the cause. Always the cause. And when you see the masses of protesters, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. So the statistics that I've just got, and it was a Harvard Caps Harris poll back on October the 20th. So let me just quote you a couple of these stats. 33% of American voters wrongly believe still that the explosion at the Gaza hospital was caused by Israel rather than a misfire of an Islamic Jihad rocket. Still a third. 46% of voters wrongly believe that Israel, not Hamas, rules Gaza, that there's still this thing called the occupation. And here's a sickening one. 32% of voters aged 18 to 24 wrongly believe it is a false story that Hamas terrorists killed 1,400 Israeli citizens by shooting, raping, and beheading their head. And almost half of that age group side with Hamas, a terrorist organization whose stated purpose is to annihilate Jews around the world. Stuart, I'm finding more and more I have to debate and educate and argue with people. But when you and I have talked about this, we just seem to be finding more and more are either stupid, ignorant, or bigots.
Wow. I can't believe you actually said that. Bigots. You know, let's start off the modern conflict. Israel gave Gaza to the Palestinian people in 2005. Let me repeat that. The Israeli government gave Gaza to the Palestinian people. Wait a minute. Did you hear that? Let me say that one more time. Carnegie says if you say it 3 times, you got to listen. Put your ear closer, David. The Israeli government gave the entire strip of Gaza, which can be an oasis like Tel Aviv,
Singapore.
for free.
They keep saying Singapore. That's what they keep coming back with.
Okay? For free in 2005. What did the Palestinian people do? Voted in Hamas.
Put that in quotation marks, Stuart.
Fatah in 2007. What?
Put the word voted in, because in a single party election with threats, I don't know the word voting.
Wait, David. You're telling me that the Israelis didn't put a terrorist government in power?
No. I didn't say that the Israelis did that. The opposite.
Oh, really?
Hamas went in, and they've been there before. They just
no way. Are you kidding me? Hamas existed before 2005?
Stuart, Hamas has been around for a long time. This is not a newbie.
Wow. And Hamas is controlled by the United States, right?
No. Let's try that again. It's a 4-letter word, starts with an I, ends with Iran.
Iran, where the Ayatollah Khomeini says openly death to all Jews, death to big Satan, United States, and death to little Satan, Israel. Is that the same Ayatollah Khomeini that is the octopus head of Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, amongst others? Or am I incorrect? It's is
No,
it
no,
Donald
no.
Trump? No, no, no,
You're
David. Is it Donald Trump? It
So
must be
no,
Donald
I
Trump.
no, you know what, you know what, Stuart, you're absolutely right. It has to be Donald Trump because Trump's blamed for everything. When the truth of the matter is that Iran's religious leader Ali Khamenei, he calls the shots, and the IRGC, the Iranian, their terrorist group, they're the ones that control Hamas. They keep funding Hamas.
I got another one, David. Muslims and Arabs are banned from entering in the state of Israel.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. That Israel is, what do they call it, Stuart? That word in
An
South Africa?
apartheid state.
Apartheid state. Yeah, because you see, the head of the Supreme Court is an Arab. Um, the
No, 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 no. You're telling me the head of the Israeli, the
Yeah.
Jewish
Wait a
state's
minute. Wait a minute.
parliament is
The other one, there was a head of the medical system, an Arab.
what?
Um,
No way. Are you kidding me? So, and like he is denying medical attention to all Arabs and Muslims?
Well, no, actually, what they're doing is they're ruining the lives of every Arab, according to the Hamas. Israeli Arabs, weren't hit indiscriminately by Hamas rockets. Israeli Arabs there's two bathrooms apparently, one for Jews, one for Arabs. Of course, there's none of that crap. It's all part of the propaganda that Hamas likes to spin and then coerce Arabs to have to spew out. I mean, it's. Oh, by the way, in an apartheid state also, you can't elect them to government, and yet there are members of the Knesset that are Israeli Arabs.
Wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow. Hang on a second. So you're telling me the Zionist Jews are killing Muslims out of their religion?
Oh, well, actually, you know what? I was called on Sunday a baby killer. I just want you to know that I was called a baby killer because I wore an Israeli. I had I rallied with other Jews in Montreal, and I was called a baby killer. Because I go out there every day with my blood libel and I look for babies and I go, "Are you Jewish? No, good. Let me kill you," because that's what the indoctrination in those Arab and Muslim countries have been, is that Jews only like to drink the blood of non-Jewish babies.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Let's go back. When the Ottoman Empire or the Islamic Caliphate ran Israel, were Jews safe to live in Israel?
So let me correct you by the statement. There was no Israel. There was no Jordan. There was no
Wow.
Syria. There was no Lebanon.
The Ottoman
That
Empire.
entire area was part of the Ottoman Empire. There were no borders. And Jews were able to go and pray at the Western Wall. Muslims were able to go and pray at the Dome of the Rock.
No
I
way.
won't call
No,
it. I
so
wouldn't call it religious freedom. I wouldn't call it religious freedom because the Ottoman Empire wasn't. Don't forget, they were Muslim. They weren't a lover, but they didn't exactly put ridiculous restrictions. It was just the times where people couldn't travel to what we know as Jerusalem to
right.
pray.
Well, hang on a second. Muslims existed long before Jews and Christians.
Ooh, no. Unfortunately, that also is one of those fallacies that that founding of Muhammad and and all that stuff. Even Christians, they say, oh, predated Jews, which is kind of really funny. The start of Islam is actually around 610.
Yeah. Wow.
Jews have been around, and it's been proven archaeologically and whatever before Christ. So let's just go with that for just a second. I don't have to go necessarily too far back because then I'm crazy. But yeah, Judaism predates Christianity, and it certainly predates
I,
Islam.
I want you to. I'm going to go. Some empires conquered that land.
Correct.
The Assyrians, the
Yep.
Babylonians,
Yep.
the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Byzantines, right? Are any of them Muslim?
So actually, none of them were Muslim. In
No,
fact,
no, David, stop. You're telling me the Muslims never owned, never
no,
had.
no, no. They do. They did. They did come in
Oh,
way later.
ah,
Way later, but the empires you're talking about predate Christ and
oh,
predate, like the Assyrians and the Romans. The Romans came around just after after Christ's birth, so we could go with that. But even the Romans hadn't converted yet to Christianity yet.
Palestina. What language? That must be a Muslim like
Well,
girl's
that's so
name or
funny. That's
something.
my favorite one because the letter P doesn't exist in Arabic. Palestina was a made up name by the Romans
Oh, wow.
to completely discredit and destroy Israel. It was Syria Palestina actually, and frankly put, the even when I hear, oh, we were the Philistines, we were descendants of the Philistines. Look, if you go back into all those empires or all those cultures or whatever, they were destroyed. There's no continuity, and archaeologists, sorry, around the world cannot prove to this day that Islam predated 610. In fact, they can't even find traces of a lot of these lost, cultures. So, yeah, more propaganda by our haters.
Again, I got this friend, Solomon Khan. Grew up with him in Montreal, moved to Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
starch Democrat, lives in Texas. I got to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Jews murder babies?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest, but that's the greatest blood libel that Jews have been dealing with for centuries. When it was convenient by the church, by the royalty, when they wanted to deflect the blame, the Jew was the easy target. And if you go back, even, I don't have to go that far back, actually. You guys all drive a Ford. You're all driving, the founder of Ford was one of the greatest anti-Semites who distributed to all his employees a book called The Prodigals of the Elders of Zion.
No, correction. Everyone who bought a Ford in
No,
the glove
no,
box.
no,
In
no.
no, 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 in the
That's
glove
true,
box.
Stuart.
Yep.
Stuart. People who bought a Ford, but people who worked at Ford got this document that claimed that Jews got together at a cemetery once a year to plot the ruling of the world. And this is what was the mantra of the haters. They simply believed the Jews who were persecuted during the Inquisition, thrown out of Spain, killed, murdered, you name it, pogroms, you name it. We wielded so much power that we just laid down like lambs and 6 million of us died in the Holocaust. It just shows you the level of hate that if you stop for a second and think about it, it doesn't make sense.
Israelis have taken over all of Palestinians' land. And they keep bombing their farms, cutting their water supply. Hang on, there's more. Saudi, Syria, and the whole world except Israel and United States support this. In other words, all of Europe and all the Arab countries don't support this.
So Europe actually does not, this time around, has actually recognized the fact that it's not fact, that this is not true what's going on. Number one, Israel isn't the main water supplier for Gazans. That's Hamas. Now, just like, let's put it this way, that's like saying, for those of you living in Florida, hey, Texas, you cut off my water. No, Florida is responsible for your water supply. Gazans were given in 2005, and then, let's call it with their 2007 election, full rights to run all of the infrastructure. They blew it up. They destroyed it. They hoarded it for their own weaponry. If you look today, they're talking about no fuel. There's 500,000 liters or over 125,000 gallons of fuel, but it's not being given to Gazans. The notion that Israel is bombing, unfortunately, folks, is part of the distortion. Look again. Israel is not bombing
Indiscriminately.
schools
Right.
because they want to kill people. When you bury underneath them missiles and weapons and guns,
Under hospitals.
and I know us in America, we want to believe that that's not possible. But Israel's shown again and again the stashes that they found in mosques. I mean, in mosques. Imagine in a church basement, you're storing weapons, bombs.
I gotta go. I gotta go to the next one. I get it. We're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna tell you this one. Innocent people are dying, and the world is watching this time. thanks to social media and not the mainstream media that is owned by Zionists.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I'm just going to let's start by saying that we know that Hamas is a terrorist organization, and
No,
yet,
you're kidding me.
and
No, I
yet,
thought they're a social,
oh
nice,
no, they're no, they're
guys.
free, no, Stuart, they're freedom fighters. And one of the best lines I've heard is, and it's the BBC and MSNBC and a lot of these other haters continue to say that according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, which in quotation marks is Hamas, the number is escalating. The death toll is going every day. It escalates. There's the single fact. Let me give you a little bit of understanding of what the Hamas health ministry is all about. When
Yeah,
the bomb,
love to know. And the health ministry?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, when the rocket supposedly hit that hospital, it took 20 minutes for them to say there were 500 dead. Just remember, 20 minutes. If there was a bomb and it really must be blew up a hospital, and you had to go through the rubble, it would take days to figure out the amount of people who were killed. But the world jumped right away because you could blame Israel. And instead of doing their homework, up until last week, the New York Times was still, and Reuters were still contending that Israel had blown up this hospital. They didn't retract that statement. And they kept up with the 500, even though the missile hit the parking lot. There was
Oh, parking lot.
okay,
Oh, I'm
the point is,
sorry.
here's the thing.
500 cars got destroyed,
Stuart,
David, or 500 people.
well, whatever. Stuart, the
Hey,
thing is
maybe
that
500 missiles? Maybe
look, the
500
thing is
missiles
that
that blew up and created a crater?
the
No,
thing is
like the missiles that were underground?
to your former classmate, whom you called out by name this morning, and to all those other ones who want to now, go to Facebook and say, there's a double standard, just like Christiana Amanpour did with the Queen of Jordan. There's a double standard in the world. There's a double and they're right. There is a double standard. And I'll tell you what double standard is, Stuart. You're asking, Russia invades Ukraine. And the poor Ukrainians get the support from the world. Everybody changes their Facebook pages, blah, 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 blah. Poor Ukraine, poor Ukraine, poor Ukraine. 2 years later, there isn't a ceasefire. Nothing has been done. And you're continuing to arm Ukraine to defend herself from Russia. Israel is mortifiedly attacked, and 1,400 people. And I know maybe that number sounds too small for you, but when you have a population of 9 million, 1,400 is like, what was it? The number 30, 50,000 in the United States? I can't remember what it was. And it doesn't matter. Israel can't defend herself. They want a ceasefire. Stuart, I'm going to put this out there to the haters. Would you permit me to put that out there?
Yeah, but I got to say something. Go ahead.
I want to ask the haters the following thing. Everybody who hates Israel is blaming her for everything. So let's attack people in airports, as we saw in Russia, in a Russian state, that they were, let's go attack a plane of Jews. They weren't, but let's do that. Let's go attack people who are quietly rallying to bring home hostages, because we forgot about those 230 hostages that are still remaining with Hamas. But of course, we're not allowed to talk about bringing them home. We're not allowed to talk about, we're told you must, this is the best, you must have a ceasefire, which means that Israel must stop attacking, which gives Hamas the right to rearm. I have a different approach, and I would like to challenge the world to the following offer. Israel will agree to a ceasefire on 2 conditions. All right, Stuart? And I want these 2 conditions met. Otherwise,
the Knesset hasn't approved this call, but let's see.
Let me put 2 conditions out there, okay? 1, you return all 230 hostages, unscratched, unscathed. Let's see if they do that. But number 2, Stuart, Hamas agrees, like the Irish Republican Army, to demilitarize themselves, hand over all their weaponry, every missile, every rocket, and Hezbollah agrees to stop firing from the north. Then, and only then, would Israel can agree to a ceasefire. That's my opinion.
But David, Hamas is a freedom fighting loving bunch, but we're getting to 20 minutes and we've broken our 15 minutes. And I got to tell you, guys that I know, grew up with, that come out with the dumbest shit in the world, you deserve to get called out. And you know what? If you know someone, don't worry about him. Don't worry about him. I want to ask you a question. Why don't you go to Gaza? Why don't you go to the West Bank? Why don't you bring your children and wives to these countries? Why
I have a
don't you
different
live?
question.
Stop, David. Why don't you live the same way you live in Texas or New Jersey and see what happens to you and your family? I got to tell you something, guys. You're Western Muslims. You are the norm that represents 80% of all Muslims. Since when are you taking direction from the 20%? Is the woman that has been raped the victim?
Yep.
Or is she the perpetrator? Number one. Number two, the guy that got shot, do you blame the guy that shot? He deserved it? Or do you blame the guy that pulled the trigger? Listen, you've got things very backwards and very wrong. And you know what? You yourself have never been to these countries. You've been to Dubai. You've been to UAE. You've been to places that have signed what's called the Abraham Accords because they want peace. They don't want these Palestinians, which are Egyptians, Syrians, and other Bedouins. But here we are. David, wrap it up before I lose
But
my
Stuart, I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna throw one more thing at you, and I think you missed it. I think you missed it.
I missed something?
You missed
Go
something.
figure.
I'll tell you what it is. You know, I'm gonna come over to your house.
Oh,
Okay? I'm gonna come over to your house.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna redecorate. I'm gonna punch a hole in your kitchen because I don't like the layout. I'm gonna rip out the artwork because I think that it's ugly. Would you invite me to your house? And the answer is no. But why do you then get the right to move into my country as an immigrant and tell me how I'm to live? Who the hell are you? These are immigrants. These are students who come from other countries who are here on student visas, perpetuating hate. And we lay down and say it's okay? No. Go away. Get out. My contention is anybody who stands there with a placard that says Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea and all that kind of crap, and I find out that you are a first generation immigrant or a student, bye-bye. You're out of here.
France got it right.
Nope.
Got it
Yeah,
right.
except apparently that's been rescinded. The problem is, even in Austria, they want to make it illegal. Stuart, I'm going to tell you, this is the problem. If you don't stop the hate grows. That's the only thing that matters. And you want to know what? University after university, only 100 universities globally have signed an agreement to condemn anti-Semitism on campus. How disgusting. 10 minutes ago, you fought for transgender rights. 10 minutes ago, you fought for Black Lives Matter. 10 minutes ago,
transfer Hamas. I like that one. Transfer
Hamas. But you want to know what? When you have to fight for the people that built countries, supported your schools financially, and all that, you told them they'd rather die. That's disgusting. So to your former classmate and to all those haters out there, do us all a favor, leave. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Stuart, last word? All right.
Gotcha.
Done. Thanks for tuning in to the Rant Network today. We've gone well past our time, but you know what? People have been asking us, what are the facts? Because they can't trust the media or the politicians or Hollywood or anybody else. So we hope you found today's dialogue helpful in the conversations you're going to have with the haters. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not. This is a humanitarian cause. Please remember that. We'll be back here on Wednesday, as we are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Please share us on social media. Share your perspectives. We want to hear you. We genuinely value your feedback. And until next